General Carilla, I believe there are over 1 million people in Rafah right now. I was just recently at the Rafah crossing on the Egyptian side, and then we went to Israel. And the Israelis are suggesting that they are continuing their plans for an invasion of Rafah. And so if you're thinking about the vetting that would need to take place to move that population, and if you're thinking about the humanitarian corridor that has to happen, would you say that that group of people, that population, could be moved out of Rafah for an invasion in 2 weeks?
Madam, I believe the number is about 1.3 million. That's in Rafah. I was at the Rafah gate 2.5 weeks ago as well. I believe it'll take weeks. I can't give you, without seeing their definitive plan, I cannot give you a timeline.
And to your knowledge, is there currently a place in Gaza that is set up to receive 1.3 million people should they be moved from Rafah?
I don't know of a place right now, ma'am.
Thank you. And as we're looking at the traditional requirements that the United States has as outlined in the recently signed National Security Memorandum 20, the memorandum reiterates that the Secretary of State must assess the assurances that human rights and humanitarian laws are being upheld by a recipient of U.S. defense articles and services. As Israel continues its fight to uproot and destroy the Hamas terror network, we've seen the casualty rates of civilians, including children, and a looming humanitarian crisis. So can you explain how your headquarters will monitor the situation, collect information, and report your assessments and findings to the State Department regarding the requirements of the National Security Memorandum 20?
So I believe that comes from both verbal and written assurances, from reliable and credible assurances that they will follow the law of armed conflict with the weapons provided. I am not
humanitarian.
Yeah, I am not involved in the advising for the day-to-day ground operations or air operations.
So you've not been asked to provide any information as to whether or not to provide any information for the assessment?
I have not.
And so the National Security Memorandum 20 requires assurances to include that the recipient country will facilitate the transport and delivery of U.S. humanitarian assistance and U.S. government support of IGO efforts, not deny, not restrict, not impede. So Dr. Wallander, what more must Israel do to facilitate aid? Do you believe Israel should provide security for the transport and delivery of humanitarian aid? And what of the practice of turning away full shipments with a single dual-use item?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Yes, Israel has an obligation on many counts for allowing for access to humanitarian assistance. We are working with them now, or CENTCOM is working now with Israel on the line of effort on the maritime delivery access, and we are working daily with Israel on ground transport, including increasing the number of trucks moving along those ground transports and access, and we've worked with them on clarifying issues of inspection that Israel requires to be able to in order to approve the movement of specific shipments.
And is that ground transport within Gaza as well, or simply ground transport to get to the access points of Gaza?
The focus of our conversation with Israel is access to Gaza, and separate arrangements are being worked right now for the security of an internal distribution, safe distribution of the humanitarian assistance inside of Gaza.
And do you intend to publicly provide what those provisions will be?
Once they are, I think they will become public once they are finalized, and we're working on that because now this maritime access is ready to move, and we are seeing additional movements on Israel's support for ground transportation.
And do you have a timeline for any of this?
I don't have a timeline for you on the ground transportation right now, Congresswoman, and I think General Carilla noted the first half of April on the maritime access.
Thank you, and I yield back.